Rain falls over a quiet town, two best friends, one secret that can't stay buried. When a late night argument ends in blood, guilt runs deeper than the river that hides the truth. And in Maple Hollow, Detective Claire Rowe knows every lie leaves a stain. Justice is coming, and it's closer than he thinks. The rain had been falling all day over Maple Hollow, washing the dust from the crooked main road that wound through the sleepy Oregon town. By dusk, the air smelled of wet pine and rust. Inside the dimly lit garage at the edge of town, Ethan Cole stood over a half-repaired pickup truck, his hands trembling as he tightened a bolt that didn't really need tightening. The radio hummed softly in the background, an old country song about regret and whiskey. He wasn't listening, not really. His thoughts were a tangled mess, replaying the last few weeks like a broken film reel. Ryan Mercer, his business partner, and once his best friend, had been acting strange. Late nights, secret calls, missing cash from their accounts. Ethan had ignored it at first. They'd known each other since middle school, played baseball together, built this repair shop with their own hands. Ryan was like a brother, but brothers don't steal from you. Ethan's jaw tightened as the garage door creaked open. Ryan stepped in, dripping rain from his jacket, a smirk half formed on his face. "Still here, huh? Thought you'd gone home." Ethan didn't look up. "Couldn't. Someone's gotta fix the mess you left." Ryan's smirk faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You know damn well what it means." Ethan turned to face him. His eyes were red, brimmed, sleepless. "The books don't lie, Ryan. The money's gone. You sold that generator, didn't you? The one we bought last spring. Where's the cash?" Ryan sighed, shaking his head. "You've been snooping again. Christ, Ethan, you're paranoid. I used the money to pay off the shop's debt. You'd know that if you kept your cool. Don't lie to me." Ethan's voice cracked through the empty garage, echoing off the concrete walls. "You didn't pay anything. I checked the accounts, not a cent went toward the bills." Ryan rubbed his face, his tone turning sharp. "You always were the jealous one. I've been carrying your dead weight for years. You think you built this place. You couldn't fix a damn lawn mower without me." Ethan's hands curled into fists. The rain outside thickened, pounding against the tin roof. "You stole from me, Ryan, from us. After everything." Ryan cut him off, his voice dripping with disdain. "Grow up, Ethan. You want your cut. Here." He reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out a wad of crumpled bills and tossing it onto the oil-stained floor. "There's your share. Now stop crying like a kid." Something in Ethan snapped, a small, invisible thread of restraint breaking all at once. He lunged forward, shoving Ryan against the tool bench. Tools clattered to the ground, wrenches, screwdrivers, a half-empty beer can. Ryan pushed him back hard, his eyes wide now, half angry, half scared. "Jesus, man, get off me." But Ethan wasn't listening. Years of friendship, of trust, of long nights fixing engines and drinking cheap beer, all of it felt like a cruel joke. He grabbed the nearest thing his hand could find, a heavy steel wrench. Ryan reached out, trying to grab his arm. "Ethan, don't." The wrench came down once, a sickening crack. Silence. For a moment, Ethan just stood there, his chest heaving, the sound of rain swallowing everything. Ryan's body slid down the wall, leaving a dark smear across the concrete. His eyes were open, but empty. Ethan dropped the wrench. His breath came in ragged bursts. "Oh God! Oh God!" He fell to his knees beside the body, pressing trembling fingers to Ryan's neck. Nothing. No pulse. The reality hit like a freight train. He'd killed his best friend. Panic took over. He staggered to his feet, pacing the garage. Think. No one had seen Ryan come in. It was late. The rain would wash away footprints. He could still fix this. He found an old tarp in the corner, covered the body, and dragged it across the floor, every scrape echoing like thunder. The weight was unbearable, the silence worse. He loaded Ryan's body into the bed of the truck they'd been working on. His hands shook as he turned the ignition. The engine coughed, then roared to life. Outside, the world was dark and slick. The headlights cut through the rain, illuminating the road that wound toward the river. Ethan drove in a trance, the windshield wipers ticking like a metronome, counting down to his damnation. By the time he reached the old bridge, the one where they used to fish as kids, the rain had turned into a cold mist. He stopped the truck, his stomach twisting into knots. He got out, opened the tailgate, and stared at the tarp. "I'm sorry, Rye," he whispered. "I didn't mean I just." The words died in his throat. He dragged the tarp down the embankment, the mud swallowing his boots. The river below was swollen, wild, black as ink. He pushed the body in, watching as the current carried it beneath the bridge and out of sight. Ethan stood there for a long time, rain mixing with tears he didn't realize he'd been shedding. When he finally drove back into town, the streets were empty, the lights glowing faintly through the mist. He parked behind the shop, wiped his hands, and went inside to wash the blood off his skin. But no amount of scrubbing could clean what he'd done. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind like Ryan's voice whispering his name. He tried to tell himself it was an accident, that he'd only meant to scare him, not kill him. But when dawn came and the rain finally stopped, Ethan looked out his window toward the shop and felt at the weight of something irreversible. In Maple Hollow, secrets never stayed buried for long, and the river, silent and dark, had already begun to whisper them back. Maple Hollow woke to a gray morning, the kind that made the whole town feel like it was still half asleep. Fog clung to the trees, curling between rooftops like smoke. Ethan Cole stood in his kitchen, a mug of coffee cooling untouched in his hands. His reflection in the window looked unfamiliar eyes, sunken, pale, haunted. He hadn't slept more than an hour. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Ryan's face blank, lifeless, washed away by the river's black current. A knock jolted him. 3 sharp raps on the door. He froze. Then, forcing himself to move, he opened it. "Morning," said the woman standing outside, flashing a small badge from under her jacket. "Detective Claire Rowe, Maple Hollow Police. You mind if I come in for a minute?" Ethan's throat went dry. Sure." She stepped inside, bringing a chill with her. Claire looked like she'd seen more crime scenes than Sunset's mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair tied back, voice calm but steady. She carried the kind of quiet authority that made you tell the truth before you even knew you were lying. "I'm sorry to bother you," she began, glancing around the small kitchen. "I'm looking into a missing person case. Ryan Mercer, you know him, right?" Ethan nodded, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yeah, he's my business partner and a friend." Claire pulled out a notepad. "His sister, Maggie, reported him missing this morning. Said he didn't come home last night and didn't answer his phone." Ethan forced a weak laugh. Wouldn't be the first time Ryan stayed out late. He's got friends out in Portland. Likes to blow off steam. Claire gave him a polite smile, the kind detectives use when they're pretending to believe you. "You see him last night?" Ethan hesitated. Yeah, we were at the shop late, doing inventory." Her pen paused mid-scribble. "Late? What time did you leave?" "Around midnight, maybe a little after." "Was anyone else there?" "No, just us." She studied him for a moment, her gaze steady, and everything seemed normal. Ethan swallowed hard. "Yeah, we talked, then he left, that's all." Claire nodded slowly. "All right, if you think of anything else, you've got my card." She handed it over Claire Rowe, Detective, Maple Hollow Police Department, and turned to leave. As the door shut behind her, Ethan felt his legs go weak. He sat down at the table, gripping the card until his knuckles whitened. His heart was pounding so loud it drowned out every sound in the room. He knew it was only a matter of time. Detective Claire Rowe drove through town, her windshield wipers squeaking rhythmically. Maple Hollow wasn't used to missing person cases, a stolen bike, a bar fight, a drunk driver that was the usual fare. But something about this one gnawed at her. She'd transferred here from Portland 6 months ago, chasing quiet after 15 years of chaos gang shootings, domestic homicides, things she still saw in her dreams. But quiet, she was learning, didn't mean innocent. At the diner, she met Maggie Mercer, Ryan's younger sister, sitting in a booth, clutching a photo of her brother. "Detective Rowe," Maggie said, her voice trembling. "He's never done this before. He always checks in. Something's wrong, I know it." Claire listened carefully. "You said he was last seen at the auto shop with Ethan Cole." "Yes, they've been having problems lately, I think. Ryan said Ethan's been, tense, paranoid about money. Did Ryan ever mention leaving town, maybe to clear his head? Maggie shook her head, eyes brimming. No, he wouldn't just disappear. Claire made a note. Outside, the sky had turned a deeper gray, the kind that promised another storm. By evening, Claire was standing inside the Cole and Mercer auto shop. The air still smelled faintly of oil and rain. She walked the floor, her eyes tracing the faint drag marks near the back, almost invisible under the layer of dust and grime. She crouched, brushing her fingers across a dark stain that had seeped into the concrete. Blood, she murmured. A uniformed officer nearby looked uneasy. Could be an old spill. Detective, this is a repair shop. Maybe. She took a photo anyway. Send it to the lab. She wandered further, scanning the benches. That's when she noticed something, a clean space on the tool rack, where a wrench should have been. Ethan said they were doing inventory. She said softly, "So, why is this spot empty?" The officer shrugged, maybe misplaced. Claire's expression didn't change, but her gut told her otherwise. That night, Ethan sat in his living room with the lights off. The TV flickered silently, playing reruns of some old cop show. He stared at the screen, but his mind wasn't there. He'd gone to the shop earlier, tried to clean up more, but it hadn't helped. The stain was still visible, no matter how much he scrubbed. His hands were raw, bleeding in places, then a sound, knocking again. Slow, deliberate, he froze, heart hammering, but when he opened the door, no one was there. Only the empty street and the wind whispering through the trees. He turned, and in the reflection of the window, just for a moment, he thought he saw Ryan standing behind him. Wet, pale, his mouth moving soundlessly. Ethan stumbled back, the mug shattering on the floor. He pressed his palms to his temples, shaking. "You're not real, you're not real." But the whisper came again, barely audible. "You shouldn't have left me there." He spent the rest of the night awake, sitting on the floor, every light in the house burning. 2 days later, Claire returned to the shop with a warrant. The lab results were back. The sample from the floor contained traces of human blood. The missing wrench matched the size of the wound from the preliminary autopsy of the partial remains found downstream that morning. The call had come at dawn. A fisherman had discovered a tarp tangled in the reeds beneath the bridge. Inside, part of a decomposed body, male, approximate age and height matched Ryan Mercer. As Claire stood on the riverbank, the wind biting at her face, she knew what came next. She looked at the bridge, towering above its old wooden beams, creaking in the mist, and then at the blood-stained wrench bagged by her team. Ethan Cole's world was about to collapse. And in Maple Hollow, where secrets drowned easily but never stayed hidden, justice was beginning to stir from its long sleep. Rain returned to Maple Hollow like a curse that wouldn't lift. The gray sky hung low, pressing down on the crooked rooftops and whispering through the pine trees that lined the edge of town. The news of the body had spread fast atop, found by the river, a man presumed dead. The whole town was talking, and everyone had the same name on their lips, Ethan Cole. Inside the police station, Detective Claire Rowe stood in front of the evidence board. Strings, photos, and reports painted the picture she'd been building for days. A photo of Ryan Mercer smiling, arm around his sister, sat in the center. Around it, the blood-stained concrete, the missing wrench, the river site, Ethan's statement. Everything pointed to one truth. Claire took a deep breath, picked up her coat, and headed out. Ethan sat in his garage again, staring at the empty space on the wall where the wrench used to hang. The shop felt different now, quieter, heavier, as if it knew what he had done. He hadn't gone to work in days, hadn't answered calls, hadn't eaten much. The whole town looked at him differently now, suspicious, wary. Even the barista at the diner, who used to smile, now just handed him his coffee in silence. He knew it was over. When the police found the tarp, he'd gone numb. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. The river had betrayed him. The bell above the door jingled. Ethan turned. Detective Rowe stood in the doorway, rain dripping from her coat. Her expression was calm, too calm. "Morning, Ethan," she said softly. "Mind if we talk?" He nodded wordlessly. Claire stepped inside, taking in the shadows, the lingering scent of oil. "We got the lab reports back. The blood on your floor matches Ryan's DNA. The wrench we recovered from the river, same size, same tool mark as the wound, and we found your fingerprints on the tarp." Ethan closed his eyes. "He didn't speak. You want to tell me what happened?" she asked quietly. For a moment, silence, then his voice, hoarse and broken. "It wasn't supposed to happen." Claire said nothing, just waited. Ethan stared at the floor. "We were arguing. He'd stolen money, lied to me. I lost my temper. He pushed me, and I don't know. I grabbed the wrench, and then..." His words faltered. "When I saw what I'd done, I panicked. I didn't think anyone would believe it was an accident. Why didn't you call it in?" He laughed bitterly. "You ever make one mistake so big you can't tell the truth anymore? That was me. I thought if I hid him, maybe it would go away." Claire watched him carefully. "But it never does it?" He looked up at her, eyes hollow. "No, it doesn't." The rain drummed on the roof outside. Thunder rolled in the distance. Claire took a slow step forward. "Ethan Cole, you're under arrest for the murder of Ryan Mercer." He didn't resist. He just nodded, like a man who'd been waiting for those words. The drive to the station was quiet. Ethan sat in the back seat, wrists cuffed, staring out the window as Maple Hollow passed by the diner, the gas station, the church steeple cutting through the mist. Everything looked the same, and yet none of it was. Claire kept her eyes on the road, but she couldn't shake the heaviness pressing on her chest. She'd seen murderers before, liars, monsters, cold-blooded killers. Ethan didn't fit the mold. He wasn't evil, just broken, just human. At the station, Maggie Mercer was waiting. When she saw Ethan being led in, she froze. Her face went pale, her hands trembling. "You killed him," she whispered. "You killed my brother." Ethan looked at her, tears welling in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Maggie. I swear, I didn't mean to." She turned away, sobbing into her hands. Claire gently guided her aside, her voice soft. "You don't have to watch this." That night, the rain finally stopped. Maple Hollow was quiet again, its streets slick and empty. Claire sat at her desk, typing her report case closed. Ryan Mercer, deceased. Ethan Cole, in custody, confession obtained. She paused, looking at the photo tacked to her board, the one of the two men standing outside their shop, smiling, arms around each other, back when life was simpler. In another life, they might have grown old fixing cars and telling stories over beer. But greed, anger, pride, those small, ugly things had destroyed them both. Claire leaned back in her chair, listening to the soft hum of the station. Justice had been served, but it didn't feel like victory. It rarely did. A week later, she stood by the river, watching the current move beneath the old bridge. The water was calm again, deceptively peaceful. The same place where the secret had been hidden, now washed clean. She thought of Ethan, alone in a holding cell, replaying that night over and over. She thought of Ryan, buried now in the town cemetery, rain soaking the fresh dirt. And she thought of Maple Hollow, this small, quiet town that pretended to sleep through its sins but never truly forgot them. Claire pulled her coat tighter and turned to leave. Behind her, the river kept moving, carrying whispers, carrying truth, carrying every secret this town would ever try to bury. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.